Good evening and welcome. At this time, I'll call to order the Tuesday, June the 17th, 2025, regular scheduled City of Clemson Planning Commission meeting. This meeting, so you know, is being live streamed and recorded on the City of Clemson's YouTube channel. As a reminder, for those who may need it, we do have assisted listening devices. So I apologize from last meeting for not mentioning that. That was on me. So if you need it, please see Kelly Roach and we'll be glad to accommodate you. The Planning Commission, so everybody knows, is a volunteer committee which is appointed by City Council, and it serves as an advisory board in the planning and development of our city. We are not employees. We are not employees of the City of Clemson. At this time, I would like to introduce our commissioners. Commissioner Hyatt, Vice Chair Greg Rice, Commissioner Yoder, Commissioner Kernigan, Commissioner Crowley. In addition, I'm Herb Tyler, and I'm the chair for 2025. Commissioner Cumbie could not be here due to work obligations that we knew well in advance. Thanks, everybody. We have a quorum. Now, I'd like to introduce, so everybody knows who they are, our administrative staff. Art Holbrooks, city planner. Nathan Woods, who's the director of planning and development. Jacob Peabody, who's our zoning administrator, could not be here. Oh, there you are. I thought you'd be up here, man. Anyway, I'm not used to him sitting there. I'm used to being able to see him. So that's why he said he wasn't here. I looked at the seat, not at the crowd. I apologize, Jacob. And then, of course, we could never do this without Kelly Roach, who is our secretary and who's in charge of making sure all of this goes that way. So the way that this works, and here's what I would ask of everybody. We have a lot of rules and procedures that we have to follow. And so I'm big on that. And so we want to follow rules and procedures. I understand a lot of the things that come to us in our purview can get emotional, and I get it. What we need to do, and what I would ask of everybody, we need to treat everybody with honor, dignity, and respect. Everybody deserves a voice. Everybody deserves to be heard, whether you agree or disagree. So with that said, that's the kind of behavior that we're going to have. I would ask that we don't have applauses, we don't have jeering, we don't have cheering, we don't have gasping. If we do, I will remind everybody one time. If it happens again, you'll be asked to leave the meeting. That's fair. Everybody deserves honor, dignity, and respect. And so that's what we want to give everybody. So with that said, we're going to open the first part of our meeting. And so if you don't understand the agenda that we have a public session for things that are not on our agenda, okay? So this public session is not for anything that's on our agenda. So I want to go ahead and open that public session, and it can last up to 15 minutes, and each speaker can speak for up to 3 minutes. And if you have prepared copies of your remarks, you're welcome to pass them on to Ms. Roach. Please do not approach the Planning Commission. If there's something that you'd like for us to have that we don't already have, please lay it on the side over there. So with that said, we're opening the public session for things that are not on the agenda. Okay. And when you come up, sign in. It'll have your name and address, and state your name and address clearly. And you got to do it from there and speak towards us because of the way the microphones work. And that way, people can hear at home. And so I know it's a little different, but I just want to make sure everybody knows the why. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all for your service on the planning commission.
Your name?
Mary Hawk. I'm a landscape architect.
And where do you reside?
And I'm a professor at Clemson University, and I reside at 114 Strode Circle.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to correct a statement regarding the role of the Planning Commission on stormwater management that occurred at the May meeting. A citizen voiced serious concerns regarding current stormwater issues in our city, and a commissioner responded that stormwater is not in the Planning Commission's purview. No one on the commission or from the city objected, so I would like to do so now. Flooding in the United States causes up to $496 billion in damages annually. This includes direct and indirect commercial impacts, structural damage, damage to homes, loss of tax revenue, and cost associated with flood-related deaths. A few examples of estimated annual high cost from my research include infrastructure upgrades needed to protect against future flooding, $344.5 billion, direct commercial impact, damages to businesses, $40 billion, indirect commercial impact, disruption to supply chains and other business disruptions, $34.3 billion, structural damage to commercial properties, $19.9 billion, home damage, $21.2 billion, tax revenue loss due to flooding, $10.3 billion, transit infrastructure damage, $9.7 billion, and increased insurance premiums, $0.46 billion. I hope you can see why it is very important to fully understand the connection between your role and stormwater, because impervious surfaces play an extremely important factor, since they are contributors to flooding and stormwater. Every building, paved parking lot, driveway, road, sidewalk, bike path, etc., that you approve to replace currently pervious land dramatically increases the risk of flooding in our communities. When rain lands on impervious surfaces, water no longer seeps into the ground but runs off into storm sewers, ditches, creeks, rivers, and lakes. Localized and regional flooding is far too often the result. In conclusion, in my professional opinion as a fellow in the American Society of Landscape Architects, stormwater management is the most important issue that you need to consider regarding planning decisions in the city of Clemson. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you, Dr. Hawk. And by the way, my wife, you're one of her favorite professors.
Well, thank you so much.
Carol Harwell.
Oh, well, she was one of my favorite students, too.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to say that because she keeps saying she wants to see her. Is there anybody else? Any other comments for things that are not on the agenda? With that being said,
Is this the public hearing session now?
this right now is the public session for things not on the agenda.
So it's not a public hearing session?
No, sir. With that being said, we'll close that time out. Now, we'll move on to adoption of minutes, May 12th, 2025. Have all the commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes? Any omissions that are noted? Errors? Anything that needs to be corrected? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from May 12th, 2025.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? It passes. At this time, I'd like to make a motion based on our rules of order and based on our bylaws. I'd like to make a motion as chairman that we reverse action item 5 and action item 4. Action item 5 is RZNE 000439-205 proposed map amendment to Carker Road parcels with the informal public session.
Second.
The second? Any discussion? All in favor? We have to have a unanimous vote to do it. Done. So what we're doing is, according to our bylaws, if the chairman would like to move something around on the agenda once it's been published, there has to be, the chairman can make a motion, there has to be a 100% agreement among the commissioners in order to move something. And that's by our bylaws. So at this time, we would welcome before us the individual.
Yes, Mr. York, you're rolling earlier than we thought. Come on. Okay, we have an application for a zoning map amendment, which is rezoning, submitted by Mr. York. He's the property owner, submitted on May the 9th. And he's proposing the rezoning of 3 parcels of land, that's approximately a total of 1.35 acres, located on Cochran Road, and it's numbers 105, 107, and 109. They'd be rezoned from RM1 two-family residential district to RM3 multifamily residential district. No proposed development project is currently associated with the requested rezoning, and he can address that, of course. Just so the public is aware, what the Planning Commission is required to do is to approve a recommendation on the matter before it can go to City Council, and they would make the decision one way or another. So this is Mr. York, the applicant, and owner.
Thank you very much for your time and allowing me to present myself. As Mr. Olbrooks mentioned, my application to rezone these 3 parcels that are located on Cochran Road are for various reasons. And I'm just going to read this because I'm really nervous.
That's okay. We're good.
Okay.
You go ahead.
The reason for the application for further improvement and development that will better serve the growing housing needs of Clemson and the appearance by blending in with the existing surrounding structures. Currently, these 3 parcels, 105, 107, and 109 Cochran Road, are single-family homes surrounded by Clemson Lofts apartment complex, Essex Drive's townhouses, and the Oak Ridge gated apartment complex, as well as duplex apartments. These 3 parcels, which are single-family homes, 105, 107, and 109 Cochran Road, do not fit in with the surrounding developments. Developing and improving these 3 parcels would solve this, as well as serving the growing housing needs of Clemson. Any questions?
The red outlines the 3 parcels altogether.
So, Commissioner Hyatt, any questions?
I was just looking at the impact on services. It looks like it's requiring an increase in response time for Stormwater manager reported that, and then also the utilities director with the increased density in that area. I don't really have any questions. I don't really have any questions, but that's a concern from our city departments. I don't think planning commission can fix traffic, but, yeah.
And I'd like, I can clarify because
Okay,
they were,
that would be good.
again, that's an unknown development might cause that. And so that was all the concerns they had. We're required to check with them for rezonings, and those were their responses. So it wasn't to a particular rezoning, it was possibly.
Okay, all right, well, that helps, okay.
So it's basically 3 single-family residences right now, but they're rented?
Yes.
I'm assuming, yeah. So it's almost a correction, really, to what we currently have zoned would be a good way to look at it.
To be equal
Fit
to
that
what,
area.
there you go.
Commissioner Rice?
No question.
Commissioner Yoder, anything else? Commissioner Kernigan? Commissioner Crowley?
No, just to follow up, that any of the concerns from the stormwater or anything, that would all be addressed by impact fees and things associated if it were to get developed, because there's nothing saying if it's rezoned that it's gonna be developed, it could stay those 3 houses, but if it does get developed, that will all be addressed through the impact fees and the design process of a future project. So.
Okay. Well, based on that, is there any comments from the public on this parcel?
Can you say again the size of the lots?
It will total combined of 1.3 acres.
I have a question.
Okay, please come up and sign in and, no, yes. Please come up and sign in, state your name, your address, and ask your question. And if I could remind everybody, and that was on me, anytime that you speak or would like to, we can't have questions back there because people can't hear us.
But you just had one, so.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was saying. I made a mistake.
Okay. My name is Katie Healy, and I live on Folger Street. And my question is, he mentioned the need for additional housing in Clemson. That's one of the premises that why he wants to rezone this. And I'm just wondering who, students or adults or, working people? What is that particular need that he feels needs to be addressed? And I know once you change the zoning, he could sell that tomorrow to another person, and that person could just go and do whatever he or she feels like, within the zoning, because, you can't say, oh, well, I want to go back to the, individual homes. So I think that's one of the problems that we have in Clemson, is the fact that zoning is changed, and then things move ahead in different directions. And I know when the Abernathy Park, years ago, they wanted to build a hotel where the hub is, and that the people who were opposed to it was because the zoning would have been changed, and if the people who were building that hotel didn't build the hotel, they could have had it go back to something like student housing. Well, oh so sorry, look what we have now about that. So I think it's important for us to hold on to zoning that, unless we really know what's going there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Any comments on these parcels? Seeing none, we'll go to the commissioners. Do we have a recommendation? This is an action item.
Okay. Hopefully, I'm trying to say it right. So I'd like to make a recommendation to approve the map amendment for RZNE-00439-2025 for the Cochran Road parcels.
Okay,
As is.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussion amongst the commissioners? We call for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Senate, all commissioners vote for a recommendation to City Council. Being with that, we're getting ready to move into our next section of the Plan Development Informal Public Session on PUD 00431-2025 Proposed Plan Development, 398 College Avenue. As we begin this session, I would please like to remind everybody of the rules and procedures. Tonight is a night to give feedback to the proposal and the developers of the proposal. Is for them to listen. That's what tonight is. And during this time, I'm going to go through this. Will not take time of, but I want to remind everybody we want to treat people with honor, dignity, and respect. We do have a time limit of 3 minutes per person. We will stick to that time limit. If not, I will bang the gavel. If over and it doesn't work, it's not fair to everybody else, and we will have to ask to leave. We just want to be kind to everybody. We have, and I'm going to start this meeting, I'm going to allow as per our bylaws, the presenter to come. They have 15 minutes is what they are allotted to be able to tell you about what they have proposed here. After that, I am going to come back and go through, we have had a numerous amount of letters, and probably some of you are here, I'd be surprised if not. And I do want to go through those concerns so our people who propose do hear these concerns. And during this time, I would encourage the applicant to be sure that you're taking notes, be sure that you hear the concerns that are presented tonight. If these concerns have met what you were prepared to say, we would ask, like at all public hearings, that you come up and state you agree or disagree. If they've already been stated of what you were going to say, if it's been covered. If not, and you have something else to add, we'd ask you to do that so we can stay within that allotted time. But again, please take great notes so you do hear what the people have to say. So with that being said, we will have you come up and tell the public about your development proposal.
Thank you. Facing this way.
You can turn to the side. We just need to make sure you're done, and that way y'all can see him.
This way, I guess.
Yes.
Right. Good evening. My name
And
is...
do speak as loud as you can so we can get the people on YouTube to see you.
Good evening. My name is Mauricio Bisbal. I am here on behalf of LV Collective, the developer for this project. I want to tell you a little bit about us first. Our mission is to create experience-based environments that encourage personal growth and foster the formation of relationships and memories that will last a lifetime. We are a student housing developer based out of Austin, Texas, with more than 6,000 units developed and planned throughout the states, as you can see by our footprint. We have been named #1 student housing developer a few times in the last couple of years. A little bit of our approach. Ground floor activation is key in our projects. You will see that our lobbies will be very active. We take cues from hospitality for this, And as you can see here from the level of quality from projects in Austin and Atlanta, one way we do this is by creating an adjacent cafe that opens up to the lobby. This creates level activity and an activity throughout the lobby and the cafe throughout the day. We have partnered with award-winning barista in Austin to bring this experience to Atlanta, Gainesville, Phoenix, and Austin. I want to bring it here to Clemson as well. We typically partner with local bakeries that will sell products in this cafe. The cafe is called Daydreamer Cafe, and some examples here. Emphasis on health and wellness is big for LV. You can see here some examples, in particular wellness taking an important piece of this, usually a very special spot in the building, usually the rooftop. Co-working spaces and study spaces are a big part of our program as well. Students are here to study, so we want to bring them to an inviting environment, some place that they can all hang out and really study, as you can see here. Public realm design is what we call the first two levels of the building that engage the street. We take high pride on this, and we do very close coordination between architects and landscape architects, interior designers, to make sure that what the building brings to the city is high quality. We have high quality materials facing the street, and really invite everyone in. Here's some examples from Austin and Gainesville and Atlanta again. Here's some recent work. At the bottom left, Columbus, Ohio opened its doors later this year. College Station, Texas, the top left. Tempe, Arizona to the right, both under construction currently. And some awards and recognitions we've gained throughout time in different industries here. Won't go through this for the sake of time. Project overview. The owner, LV Collective, myself representing LV Collective today. Our architect, Niles Bolton Associates, you'll hear from them in a bit. And our civil engineer, Kimley Horn, sitting here with us as well. A little bit of a timeline. We started looking at this project at the beginning of the year. Here we are mid-year in front of you on Planning Commission. We're hoping to get fully entitled by October of this year, hoping to break ground Q2 of next year and open indoors for Q2, Q3 of 2028. Looking a little bit closer at the College Avenue corridor, we have seen a growth throughout the last 10 years of higher density mixed-use developments that you can definitely see growing from the university out. This makes sense to bring students closer to the university, reduce traffic by having them close and walking to school. This, coupled with the improvements planned for College Ave itself, for the streetscape, is what brought us here. You can see there our site sit in the middle of these developments. This is something we look at every site. Walk score 70, very walkable, and bike score 59. Both are expected to increase with the improvements along College Ave. And then zooming in a little bit more into the site, looking at what's there today, we see that it's a 2-parcel project. You see to the right is the main parcel. To the left of Strode Circle, it's a secondary parcel. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a second. The site has a lot of topography, roughly 20 to 25 feet from the highest to the lowest point. Very complicated to deal with. There's some streams, as you all know, running through the site that we're working with as well. Some vacant retail, some active retail, and some vacant residences and one active residence as well. All listed here on this slide. At a high level, the project is 3.7 acres, 6,200 square feet of retail, 718 beds, 216 units, 379 resident parking spaces, and then an additional 150 public parking spaces for the downtown area. And with this, I'll introduce Mohammed to Mohsen, our architect, to present the plan.
Thank you all for having us tonight and hearing us. I'm going to talk about the proposed site plan. This is for orientation. College Avenue is at the bottom of the page. north is pointing left on the screen. So you can see on the larger parcel, we have a precast deck in the middle of the site that is entirely wrapped with residential. So the parking deck is pretty much screened on all four sides. You can see between the podium or the precast building and the townhomes, we've got a large area of the stream that we are preserving. We're keeping that open. You can see that's kind of a long strode circle there where we've got the open stream. We're taking advantage of the landscaping, the existing grades, and the large matured trees that are currently on site. In the way we've programmed the amenities for the project, we try to kind of take advantage of that. So you can kind of see that portion of the building that comes in closer to the open stream is actually amenities. Mauricio talked a little bit about the grades that are on the site. The high elevation happens to be at the bottom right corner of our site, and from there we're sloping down all the way to Strode. It remains fairly consistent around Strode all the way to Riggs, and it starts to climb a little bit towards the page top there where we've called that a fire lane. And so with the way we programmed it, our front door to the project is coming in off of College Avenue. We come in and then we step down a floor to get closer to the stream, provide a connection. We've got a study amenity for the students there that we've intentionally tried to locate closer to the grades to be able to take advantage of the landscaping in this area. We had talked about parking, 150 parking spaces that are provided for the public. A few of those spaces are provided as surface spaces along Strode Circle and Riggs, about 16 of those, and then the balance of that is provided in the precast deck. You can see at the middle of our building here, there is a rooftop amenity that's proposed for the students that sits on top of that precast deck. And then lastly, on the site plan, one thing I want to point out, if you look at where we've located the building in general, you can see that it's kind of shifted close to College Avenue and it's shifted to the south end. We've tried in placing that building to provide as much setbacks setbacks from Strode Circle and Riggs and pretty much along all the residential to our northeast. We've kind of tried to set the building as far back, and that creates pockets of green space that we're providing there. As you can see at the top of the building, we've got a green amenity space for the residents, and then throughout that open channel area where we preserve the stream, we're providing smaller pockets of green space to take advantage of outdoor amenity space for the residents. I'm going to run through the plans very quick. These are plate by plate. We talked about the grades on College Avenue. This level here, this is the lowest tray, and it's partially basement along College Avenue. It's all below grade. The site kind of slopes down again towards Strode and Riggs. So really we're only picking up a little bit of residential on this level. And then what you're seeing highlighted in red there, that's the study amenity that we've kind of depressed in the site to get closer to the existing grades and take advantage of the stream. On the next level up, you see we start to pick up program along College Avenue. That highlighted in purple is kind of commercial space. The one on the left is actually a coffee shop. Mauricio talked about the amenity package and how we try to activate the sidewalks and the streets. And so right along College Avenue, we have this cafe that's going to be part of the initial construction of the project. And then there's an open retail space, some additional amenities in red, and the leasing office there. And then we pick up more residential on the north and east ends of the building. On the next level up, that's the highest elevation on College Avenue there at the bottom right corner. We've got some services coming into the building, access to the parking deck. At that level, this is our public parking. And from there is a level below and a level above that's also dedicated to the public with a connection back to College Avenue that comes in right in the middle of the two commercial spaces here where it's highlighted in yellow. That's a breezeway connection to get back to the College Avenue sidewalks. Next level up, that's our typical residential level. You see units wrapping around the precast deck, entirely screening it. And then at the top of the residential level, we have a small amenity space there. You see on the north end, on the bottom left, with a roof terrace to take advantage of the views there, being high in the building. And then at the very top of the building, we pick up the amenity deck, as I mentioned on the site plan. So this is our highest plate on the project. A couple of quick sections. This really kind of shows the project in context in View Center and NODA that's currently under construction. And you can see how we're set back from the streets. These two sections here that are cutting through the donut portion of our building there along Riggs. You can see how we have pushed the building to try to provide up somewhere in the range of 100 feet from the face of our building to the residential, the single-family residential across the street on Riggs. So these sections kind of put it in context. This is overall kind of the facade along College Avenue. You can really see the grades here and how it's stepping, from being high on the south end and then dropping all the way to the corner of Strode and College, which is our lowest point. And you can see the townhomes, and then you can see the MODA on the very left there, View Center on the very right. And that's really kind of the big overview. I'm going to turn it back to Mauricio for just a couple of closing notes here, and then we'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So just to wrap it up, want to highlight 3 key community benefits here.
We got about 2 minutes.
Yep, this last slide. 150 parking spots, public parking spaces for downtown. This is for the community. 6,200 square feet of new retail along College, and then the stream preservation that you can very clearly see in this site plan. That's a big part of this project. And that will wrap it up. Thank you, and we look forward to working with you all.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. What we'll do now is, if you want to go ahead and have a seat so you can take notes, and then we'll answer some of these questions that we have. What I'm going to start out with, as I mentioned in the very beginning, we have had numerous people write in with different comments. The first one comes from Andrew Powell at 272 Riggs Drive. He is very concerned that residential zones should not be rezoned as commercial. This area should be developed as single-family homes and townhomes because we're in desperate need of more housing for families. In the event that the city does approve this development, it's vital that all traffic into and out of the development be on College Avenue and not Riggs or Strode. The developer should be responsible for sidewalks to improve safety and walkability in the area. The developer should be responsible for traffic calming measures in the area. And Mr. Powell believes that building height should be limited based on existing structural heights and reasonable population density in town. There need to be mandatory buffer zones. Those are his comments. The next comments come from Rose McDonald. Rose McDonald is 224 Riggs Drive. There's very much concern of the height of the building and believes it's unacceptable, opposing the rezoning of R20 property from construction of this site. There's very serious concern about decisions to rezone any downtown property. There are very great concerns about light pollution, sound pollution, traffic congestion at the intersection of Stone and Riggs on the 100s block area. She states that Ms. Hyatt requested the citizens review the Clemson Next Plan. In the document, citizens were concerned about construction of more student apartments in downtown areas that would negatively impact property values of the home. Okay, we're done. No. She's asking, as she writes in, preserve the integrity of the neighborhood and recognize the impact that housing units constructed can have on the periphery of this neighborhood to the existing neighborhood. The next comes from Susan Pass. And Susan Pass, I'm trying to find the address here. I do not see an address. It says, try to prevent a horrible 9-story building without enough parking spaces. Parking is a concern. that's built with College Avenue on one side and Riggs on the other. Our infrastructure's overburdened and will be even more so once the complexes are done throughout by the lake and behind Hubbard Young. Please insist, if it gets passed, that Riggs gets paved. Next, from Robert Howell, we have several different comments. We have several different letters that have been written to Planning Commission and to City Council. When you take a look at this, first they thank us for our service, recognize that development is likely to be there, and goes on to say initially question whether including a single R20 parcel in the PD was legally appropriate. It's clear under the way the current PD ordinance is that it is permissible and perhaps unavoidable if everything is done. It appears Planning Commission and City Council have limited discretion to stop such rezonings, even when doing so clearly conflict with longstanding character surrounding neighborhoods. That's why he's frustrated. In his view, it signals a real weakness in local land use policy, one that needs attention moving forward. Assuming that the project goes ahead, he urges the city to consider the following: traffic diversion away from the neighborhood. Riggs and Strode were never intended to carry traffic from large-scale, high-density development. Require all traffic from both sides of the high-rise and townhomes to exit onto College Avenue, not Strode and Riggs. Evaluate one-way conversions, cul-de-sacs, or other traffic calming interventions to prevent cut-through traffic and livability for residents. So cut-through traffic, livability, impact on the neighborhood, going through those areas is a concern. Where you enter and the exit is a major concern, and it suggests it's on College Avenue. The additional part is providing sidewalk connectivity, pedestrian safety. The current sidewalk plan for Riggs doesn't reflect the intensity of this development, in his opinion. A 9-story, 670-bed project will fundamentally alter pedestrian flow and safety needs, in his opinion. The city should require the developer to contribute to sidewalk extensions that connect to Riggs Drive to Martin, enhancing walkability and public access. More importantly, sidewalk and pedestrian plan needs a complete rework from scratch, in his opinion. Earlier plans are likely developed before the full scope of this was public. It's not a minor infill project, in his opinion. It's transformational development that demands a fresh and comprehensive infrastructure response. The third area, so 1 was traffic diversion away from the neighborhood. 2 is sidewalk connectivity and pedestrian safety. 3 is protecting neighborhood character, context, and character. Even if it moves forward, there's still an opportunity and responsibility to prevent long-term erosion of adjacent single-family neighborhoods, specifically include step-down height transitions, deeper setbacks, buffer zones to ensure development is scaled appropriately to neighboring homes. Most importantly, in this highlight, I urge the city to begin broader conversations about how to protectively preserve Clemson's historic neighborhoods. It should include exploring tools as overlay zones, conservation district, clear limits on PD zoning can be used near low-density areas, in his opinion. If we don't act now to set guardrails, more historic neighborhoods may be chipped away parcel by parcel. Clemson's growing. I support thoughtful development. Growth should be intentional, must protect long-term character, safety, identity of the neighborhood. If we fail to draw the line, we risk losing what makes Clemson neighborhoods special. So traffic diversion, sidewalk connectivity and pedestrian safety, protecting neighborhood context and character as outlined. Additionally, there was the next comments come from Susan Pass, don't vote for the 9-story apartment dorms, town housing complex, too much building already in the area. There's not enough parking spaces. Parking is a concern. She's at 213 Wyatt Avenue. Next is comments from Alan Grubb, 116 Riggs Drive, sent on the 16th. He submitted for Miss Eva Henry in those comments because I'm sorry I can't be here at the meeting on Tuesday, but I have to be away. I'm sorry that the area is planning for, this is written in cursive, so I'm having to decipher writing. That there's being planned a 7-story building in a residential area, and that is even being considered. The area's been here a good number of years. It will change the looks from small town to a big city. They propose. I'm one resident that really doesn't want it here. Eva Henry, 234 Rick Street, Clemson. The next comment comes from Thomas Hovnak. Mr. Hovnak says that the scope of the development seems excessive and not consistent with architecture and density. He believes that a reasonable scale, 4 to 6 stories and 300 beds would be a better fit in the location, so he's concerned with height. In addition, that there should be lower height going around Strode and Riggs Drive. Addition, concerned about sidewalks being provided on both sides of Strode, at least up to Knoll Road, and planned sidewalks on Riggs to Martin and Pool Lane needs to be constructed. Commercial in this development, especially on the corner of Strode and College, should be designed with unique, aesthetically enriching features, as opposed to flat, generic storefront windows adjacent to a sidewalk. Project is an entranceway. Again, we're hearing the point of the historic character of the neighborhood. Needs to be the historic Coldstream residential community and designed in a manner that's an appropriate transition from historic downtown Clemson areas to a historic residential area of single-family homes. Use of sidewalks, courtyards, green space should be incorporated to create a village appeal to the commercial spaces as a transition to residential, and that adequate parking. So parking, as we take a look here, interest in the neighborhood, traffic, and commercial development are important. Next is from Dana Howard. In her deal, there are 11 points. Limit building height. Don't allow taller structures than the tallest existing building. Height limits are increasing with each new planned development, and believes it alters the neighborhood's character. Protect green space. Require developers to include and maintain green space in perpetuity per city staff and Clemson staff and standards without shifting maintenance to the city. So there's concern also for future impact on the city. Restrict access. Again, here we're looking at vehicular entrances and exits to College Avenue only to protect the streets from traffic and safety risk. Very much concerned about pool rooftop. Rooftop pools are elevated noise sources with little sound containment. So environmental noise carries outward and downward, disrupting residents and neighbors. Next, if there are any, remove neighborhood-facing balconies. Balconies facing established homes should be limited to preserve privacy and reduce noise. 6, design and enforce effective buffers. So we're hearing about buffers again here. Require substantial landscape and permanent buffers between planned unit developments in adjacent residents, protect privacy, reduce noise, maintain neighborhood character, reduce light pollution. Exterior lighting should be minimal and directional. Shield to avoid spillover into nearby homes. Require developer-funded sidewalks, safe ADA compliant sidewalks need to be installed and maintained by the developer, not the city. Enforce noise and use limits. Rooftop and shareable spaces should have enforceable quiet hours and use restrictions to protect residential quality of life. Mandate impact reviews. Third-party reviews must assess traffic, stormwater, sewer, and emergency access before approval. Tighten PUD standards regarding buffer design, strengthen future PD regulations to protect neighborhood integrity and support a healthy town-gown relationship. The next comments come from Vince Irwin. The comments is 108 Riggs Drive. Very opposed to the development outlined. Several reasons. One, rezoning of the property. The rezoning directly affects other property owners in a neighborhood that is being rezoned. Those owners invested significant financial resources and efforts with the understanding of surrounds based upon the city zoning map they're committed to living in. Rezoning, in his opinion, implicitly breaks contract between the city and the homeowners. Understandable, there's circumstances when it's necessary. However, in his opinion, this isn't one of those situations. Individual company that purchased property in this was well aware of zoning, now changed zoning for their benefit. Lighting from the proposed story will have impact. He's concerned about the impact of lighting on the homes in the neighborhood. In the evening, all the windows facing the neighborhood will be subject to light sources, turning the building into a light tower. Students in general stay up and study later. The next concern is privacy. There's a standard cartoon of a nosy neighbor peeking over a fence, watching their neighbor doing something with this. Nearby homeowners need to have privacy. Sunsets, reasonable expectation in residential neighborhoods to enjoy sunsets in their backyard. Burying the creek is an environmental concern that he has. Significant green space which parallels the creek on Wyatt to College. The creek is a conduit for rich biodiverse environment. Example, a great blue heron was in the creek on his property, having worked his way up the lake. Beavers also made their way. In fact, March beaver dams were removed. Continues and is concerned about property damage, micro rainburst, heavy rainfall, stormwater, burying the creek. He believes the parking space that students won't need their cars, they can walk. From his experience living in larger cities where he didn't need a car, in fact, having a car was a liability. The city's had two important features that have made not having a car desirable: well-developed public transportation, grocery stores within 3 blocks of where people live. Clemson doesn't have those. Students can walk to class, sporting events, however, simple things such as the botanical or visiting a friend not in downtown Clemson is not possible without a car, in his opinion. Implicit of not needing a car is assumption that all they need is beer and pizza. Yeah, they can buy milk and chips and salsa at the quick shop, but fruit and vegetables, eggs, they need a place to shop. The next part, top level entertainment. It has a swimming pool on the 9th floor. During the spring, fall months, it'll be a social environment, and that's a concern. In addition to the light issues such as gatherings often involve loud music, so noise pollution is in his as well. Even when time restrictions are imposed, undoubtedly some will, on occasion, figure out how to party on the roof late at night. In his opinion, it's ridiculous to propose an open air level entertainment. The next one comes from Aspen and Devon Gorey. stating when they moved here, they chose a neighborhood close to the university so they could walk to work. 102 and 104 are zoned R20, and part of the neighborhood he enjoys. 392, 394, 398, and 400 were zoned CP1, which is neighborhood commercial, meant for small shops and services, explicitly not meant there for large scale. The current businesses at the locations were small, surrounded by trees, green space, peaceful creek. CP zoning of the College Avenue lots has changed to CM, mixed commercial use, which in zoning regulation notes that should have a special emphasis on protect of adjacent residential neighborhoods. 102 Riggs was allowed to get CM status, which encroaches into our residential neighborhood, as this used to be a residential site at the entrance of the neighborhood. The LV Collective Development, he feels like will encroach on the neighborhood. It's not fair to the surrounding neighbors who moved to a residential area and will be looking out at the back of a 9-story building if it goes forward. Do not allow commercial development to encroach into the neighborhood. Neighborhood character is an area here that's very much concerned. It goes against CM zoning definition and against Clemson Next white paper, in his opinion, and the city of Clemson will preserve and protect the neighborhood character and quality of life in residential neighborhoods, which is a quote there. Part of the surveys support higher density housing that limits traffic. However, I also feel it's important to preserve existing neighborhoods. Since I moved to Clemson, there's been encroachment that's eroding historical neighborhood, which is one of the few places that families can live and walk to Clemson. Encroachment, he feels, goes against Clemson Next statements, as well as zoning regulations. He's urging the Planning Commission here not to recommend proposed development in this current state. And he thinks there's more viable proposals. Next comment. I think I have read one from this individual. I have, so we've had duplicate comments. Let me check this one. I think I have read one here. So this goes back to the last meeting. I said at the last meeting I would bring up the public comments because it was on the agenda. We couldn't read the public comments because it wasn't the time that we could read them during the public session because it was on our agenda. So this was from Alan and Catherine Hodges. In there, the Planning Commission meeting, public comment on 398. Concern 1, height to accommodate largest possible number of beds. The proposal exceeds surrounding projects approved to date. Concern number 2, including a property zoned R20, single family. And then had a question, will this establish a precedent for future zoning changes from R20 to CM? His concern number 3, stormwater drainage. The construction footprint is over a ravine in the creek that presently carries stormwater to Lake Hartwell. Will the creek running through the residential properties be diverted into newly constructed storm drain systems starting at 104 Riggs? And includes a picture of a straight blue line rerouting creek water. Runoff travels throughout the creek into his lot, 100 Strode Circle, to the area being designated as stream to remain undisturbed. Additional runoff comes down Knox Lane across Strode into the same creek, increasing the volume of water. We have experienced several instances of flooding in this corner of our lot. It should be noted that the project replaces a considerable amount of natural stormwater absorbing material with hard surfaces. Includes pictures from 2013 impact on the lower level to their home on Strode Circle, as well as the impact that was where 398 is. The next comment comes from Susanna Shanks at 309 Oak Street. Is very concerned about existing problems that everything this is going to do is going to exacerbate it. Traffic to turn on to College Avenue from 123. Traffic is a major concern here for those trying to get to 93. Full-time residents have already abandoned downtown businesses, in their opinion, due to the difficulty in accessing. Furthermore, it's often more convenient and efficient to take one business to Oconee County than navigate junctions around College Avenue. States that there's already a drainage and moisture problem in the proposed site. So again, environmental concerns, flooding and those things. This individual believes the city's given up the university license not to take responsibility for housing students on campus. Regular testing, Duke Power's emergency warning system for nuclear power plant. Increasingly, the reality of evacuating with any efficiency or speeds become laughable, in their opinion. Wants to know what the city's plans as population explodes before this new possible development. How does it square with Clemson's next goal of making it more livable, viable, and green and accessible to the community? The next comment comes from James Sharkney. The properties serve as an important pedestrian shortcut between Riggs and College Avenue. I'd like to see proper walking path that would connect the two streets on the south of the property for public good, so people do not have to walk to Strode Circle, around to Strode Circle to College Avenue. I'd like the building to be made of brick. I'd like the public to have access to the pool. Clemson City residents don't have access to a pool. He doesn't see benefit publicly. In here, Stephanie Platt, who is, I'm trying to find, 103 Mountain View Lane. I want to ask how the city's going to deal with traffic if this project goes forward. I told the city at last conversation council meeting, the city's supposed to turn College Avenue to Dune Lane Road instead of 4 lanes to deal with traffic in downtown. In my opinion, it's nonsense. How will this work if you already have 3 major student facilities in close proximity of each other and possibly a 4th? Downtown's already busy as it is. Adding a 4th to the equation would be total chaos for sure, in her opinion. I keep wondering when the city will have the guts to put in place a moratorium to stop this, in her opinion. Is the city really for residents or the city? Are we going to, again, concerns that students are not being housed at the university? Next, have comments from Alan Hodges at 101 Strode Circle. These are additional comments that came in and was sent in. Just making sure I have this correctly. While the developers place an emphasis on preservation of one visible stream, they've not explained how the other streams will be thoughtfully relocated. The larger of the 2 streams comes from Dewitt Hills. Upstream retention pond flows through Daniel Square Apartments, 99 wide, goes behind the personal residence on Riggs before it joins the stream to be preserved. The other 2 storage streams originate behind 394 College Avenue in what appears to be a spring. And so has taken a picture of the existing conditions, and that is attached here. Again, it collects runoff from the U Center. It appears to be the location of the spring. Bubblings are visible in the pool of the water, and there's continual round flow. The water flows to the lower 398 office building lot. Pictures, again, show from the front, from the side, from the back, and an evaluation of that. At the lowest point, the 3 streams merge, and water exists under College Avenue along with debris and silt that travels through J.C. Park and Abernathy Parks to Lake Hartwell. Stormwater management within Cold Spring subdivision's primary surface water runoff into the streams ravines, native vegetation, soil play a role by retaining slowly and absorbing the runoff. Runoff, storm management are a major concern. The soil testing samples appear to be saturated with heavy clay, in his opinion, subject to expansion and subject to expansion. I apologize, guys. When 102 was a personal resident, the owner used a small spring toward the front of the lot as a fish pond, since been filled and covered to facilitate current game day parking commercial use. This may contribute to soil high content. These photos were taken on June the 7th, 2025, when test samples were done, and then it includes a photo of June 2013 flooding that was back at that time. The event was a result of several days of heavy combined with Lake Hartwell being above normal at 660 foot level. There's no downstream flow at J.C. Park, resulting in streams on 398 College Avenue backing up, flooding at the corner of the lot, flooding, stream management, stormwater, and detached garage are major concerns. Again, the 2013 photos that I had showed you earlier were included both the upper at 398 as well as the lower corner of the lot on rigs that showed a while ago. Those photos were attached. Hurricane Elaine, in his opinion, could have created a similar flood if Hartwell had been higher. Very concerned about construction of the proposed project, increasing the probability of a serious adverse effect on their residents. Wants to know, is it going to have a significant stormwater upgrades such as enclosed filtration, detention tanks that slowly release water, how that's going to be managed, how will silt be controlled during the construction phase as well is a major concern. And then there's a picture in May of 25 of Knox Road and Moda after a rain showing silt and stormwater runoff in those areas. On June the 16th, another report from Mr. Hodges, 100 Strode Circle. It may be a duplicate. It is a duplicate. I apologize for that. We just want to make sure I get them all in order. So there are a bunch of them that I need to make sure that we go through and everybody has heard. The next comes from Cheryl Combs' comments, 101 Riggs Drive. Please require 398 to designate where the construction entrance would be as well. They want to know the construction entrance as well as what that would do during the time if this is approved. Next, we have a comment from Catherine Hodges at 100 Strode Circle. And during this, it starts with highlighting the Clemson Next white paper, upscale, and this is a quote on page 28 of a couple of sentences saying upscale housing so lucrative, a developer of this type of housing can pay as much as $3 million an acre versus $500,000 by any other developer. This effectively crowds out other types of development, and quotes page 28, which is a section of that. Then there's the concept map, preliminary use map, that as you looked at Clemson Next, encourages you to look at that. After Signet presented the 412 College Mixed-Use Development Plan, which is known now by MODA, notably including workforce housing, reducing building height along residential Knox border. By comparison, 398 provides no non-student option. Height is a concern. It exceeds two-story development. Step down, MODA conceded to. Also a concern on the parcel across, For years, Margaret Morrison House moved during Baptist Church construction to 400 College, has offered affordable rental space to a variety of local small businesses. It's been disappointing to learn rent by the bed student apartments with a townhouse facade will replace this community asset. Is there any plan to preserve one of the oldest buildings of architectural interest? There's a picture of that house included as well in that. And highlighting another area from that, making student housing a separate zoning ordinance to facilitate greater control over new development and integration and its surrounding. That is a highlight taken from one page in the sentence on page 29. Lacking such zoning, I refer to comprehensive plan. The one that she refers to is on page 7. Clemson will preserve and protect the neighborhood character and quality of life in residential neighborhoods, encourage a balanced range of housing types and opportunities, and maintain neighborhood character and stability and safety. So neighborhood character, stability, and safety are a major concern here. The vacant 398 College office building has commercial address, but the entrance and parking are on Riggs Residential Street. The concession due to the site's topography, if the spaces can now be removed, the character and privacy of the neighborhood will be restored. Although there's no decorative sign, the corner of Riggs and Strode is the entrance to historic Cold Springs subdivision. The residential boundary needs to be fenced and landscaped or delineated in a manner as a separate and quiet zone. Stone fence, sidewalk, street lights at Docksides are an example. There does not need to be a public pocket park. A tenant-only dog park was incorporated into the Mona plan and would be equally appropriate at this location, in her opinion. During game days, this area of Riggs experiences high auto and golf cart traffic. Pedestrians share the same roadway. Replacing existing parking spaces with a sidewalk connecting College Avenue conforms to the city goals of improving community walkability and prioritizes the safety of both residents and visiting game day attendees. An expansion of the city's Riggs sidewalk project by the developer would be valuable benefit, in their opinion. And there is a picture, and I'm not aware if you have it or not, of the Riggs sidewalk plan currently in place. It actually was approved last night at city council meeting, and you can obtain those from the city if you do not have those. The next comment was a comment sent from 108 Riggs Drive, Martha Irving. Again, it asked to consider a smaller front plant proposed, being discussed at the corner of Strode, College, Riggs, and not rezone the residential house adjacent to the property. Note, no high-density housing developments in Clemson that are directly adjacent to a residential neighborhood. Read the city white pages 16, 17. We're advised to reading at the last planning commission by Commissioner Hyatt before we make comments on what's being proposed, and I praise Commissioner Hyatt for becoming an important part of the Planning Commission, working with the city of Clemson after she helped in the relocation of the steam plant. Duke Energy and Clemson University were going to build across the street from her home. Commissioner Hyatt, you have to know how to feel regarding the proposed high-rise, high-density student. I refer to an article from Greenville News that Ms. Hyatt and Lillian Boatwright, now Lillian Scott, a minute council indicated if we continue to hear to student apartment developers, we're not really creating anything special. The focus seems to be by the city and what the students need, not what the city needs for their residents. Back in part of Build a Better Clemson, make sure the city is not disproportionately sharing the burden for student housing. Not all students need to live right downtown. There's significant green space that parallels a creek which runs from Wyatt Street. We've covered through all of that. And it continues in. There's more than one active stream on the site. They need to be protected. Again, environmental concerns, stream protection, water runoff, environmental concerns are major that want to be sure if it goes through is done. The next part is natural habitats, urban land management, and what they're doing establishing the city of Clemson as certified national wildlife habitat. Before development started in downtown Clemson, there was a doctor's office, a bank, a dentist's office, an eye doctor. It's no longer the case. We're a residential neighborhood. Please consider when reviewing the plans for yet another high-density student development. And thanks everyone for their consideration. Next comment comes from Nancy Spittler at 210 Edgewood Avenue. Proposed 9-story developments on College Avenue that will be yet another incursion into downtown neighborhoods. Again, we have preservation of historic neighborhoods, delineation of that. The out-of-town developers who plan to build developments here have never built in such a small town and have no sense of effects on city or its inhabitants. Development results in increased neighborhood traffic. Traffic is a major concern here. Decreased quality of life, more residential property being refined. All this while large, massive developments are in progress. We don't yet know the effect they'll have. We need the city to protect downtown neighborhoods, need to either do away with or generally alter how this 9-story structure will cause some quality of life environmental damage. These go back to the sound, the light, the noise, the stream, the preservation, environmental character, neighborhoods are the concerns. Then we have one from Paul Bowen who says we don't need any additional housing here. Needs better planning, access, egress without going through the neighborhoods. Again, it's the neighborhoods, sidewalks, walkability, the ability to impact neighborhoods. And that's the question is why make it more crowded? The next comment comes from Robert Howe again, and that is directly to the members of City Council and to the Planning Commission members that came by email. And I will highlight again what was in the first one: traffic diversion away from neighborhoods, sidewalk connectivity and pedestrian safety, protecting neighborhood character, context and character. These are similar to his first concerns and the manner in which he listed and the concerns that you've heard before tonight. So as you take a look at that, additionally, there have been flyers that have been handed out by someone that have been placed in post boxes, and they state that this development can be done under planned development. They call that a loophole. They say they're fighting for less traffic in the neighborhood, safer sidewalks, protecting historic neighborhoods, and in the future. In the future, we want to make sure height and buffer zones are a big concern. So throughout all of that, we have a list of concerns that people have put here and want to ensure that we turn around, take a look at those and categorize the concerns into those areas, which of what we heard is protecting character neighborhoods, delineation, making sure that light sound buffers are considered to make sure that environmental such as noise as well as obvious environmental wildlife streams and those things are protected. Those are the major points. Now, at this point, that does not count from anybody's time. What I would ask, if you have something else that's different, that you go first, that is not reflected in these, I would ask the project applicant, did you hear the concerns or do you need clarification of any of these current concerns so far? I want to make sure you got them down. Any questions at this point?
Can we have a copy of those letters?
Sure. Make sure you get them all. Anything else? Okay. At this point, we're going to open any other public discussion. comments with the neighborhood in this informal public meeting. We would tell you that we'll limit the comments to 3 minutes. I'd ask you to be respectful. And if we cover most of it, agree with those. If you disagree with them, disagree with them, because I know there are proponents and opponents. And again, we want to treat everybody with honor, dignity, and respect. You deserve a voice. You deserve to be heard. I can tell you, for all the letters, we have read those. We have heard you. So at this point, please, let's open it up. Please walk up to the podium, sign in. State your name and address.
All right, good evening. I'm Sean Haney. I'm at 211 Riggs Drive. Riggs was probably the most commonly mentioned street, even by the developer, which the development should be on a College Avenue, but Riggs was in Strode Circle were brought the most, so that is why I'm here. Just to open it up with a quote from Beyonce, this ain't Texas. It's not Austin. This is not Athens. This is Clemson. So I appreciated everyone else's comments, keeping Clemson at the forefront. Development can be developed in Clemson, right? But it's got to fit Clemson. I recognize some development at this location will likely happen. I mean, the hub and MODA have taught us that. But we've got to mitigate the impact to the neighborhood, as has been mentioned. In the white paper, I took special note in the plan to invest in neighborhood preservation and enhancement. I contend this does none of those. I heard the discussion last meeting, and I hear the opening salvo from the developer. It's shocking to me that the opening point is a cafe. When we're talking parking and safety and impact. And honestly, this is not just intermingling. Encroachment's a good word. It's also invading the neighborhood. And that's what sets this development, proposed development, apart from MODA, Hub, Bixby. This is actually into the neighborhood. So I know it's zone commercial mixed use. I would prefer there be no commercial space. I prefer there be no invitation of 150 public parking, 150 cars. If you're gonna build an apartment complex in a neighborhood, then make it be a quiet residential space. I heard the words activation. They want to activate the street, activate all the streets, activate the neighborhood. We don't need any more of that. So I welcome students who want to have a studious location, not an active. I don't want to invite more. I know that might be against some of the planning, but I would say as little commercial space as possible. Parking has come up many a times. I was sort of disappointed it was not brought up last meeting by our planning commission, but I think you've heard us now. Bottom line is, if this developer wants to build student housing, and let's be real, it is student housing. You've heard I would point out, as one person did in their letter, the word townhome is a misnomer. Those are apartments. Those are apartments that look like townhomes, and this will all be student housing. But if they want to build a student housing in a quiet residential neighborhood, then it needs to be consistent with that neighborhood. It will be where they live. It is where we live. These are our homes.
Thank you very much for your comments, Ms. Haney.
Hi everyone, my name is Hunter Hanahan. I live at 109 Pool Lane. I'm an architect and I sit on the board for architectural review here at the City of Clemson. First off, I'm pro-density in general. I believe in density, and I acknowledge that Clemson's the next plan was done for a reason, and one of those reasons was density. Also, one thing I wanted to point out to the residents is that the city does not have to grant the rezoning of the residential lot. That does not have to happen. They can hold firm on that. There's nothing that requires that to happen. Also, referencing back to the master plan, it was done for a reason. That lot was not rezoned. It remained single-family residential. The commercial space, I disagree with the previous lady who was up here. I believe the commercial space needs to be about as large as it can be, because that's where the city can actually get something out of this. Mr. Rice, last month you spoke very vehemently about the amount of square footage that was proposed is not going to work for the city. And I hope that that is something that you stick to with you and your council members. 6,200 square feet is on the docket right now. 2,400 square feet is allocated to be the Daydreamer Cafe. It's a chain. It's not locally owned and operated. It is not an investment in our community. I don't count that as commercial space. That's my definition, but I don't count it as commercial space. We don't need more chains homogenizing Clemson. We need local investment from local people who own and operate their businesses. We need more local gyms like Judge Keller's. We need more variety in frames. We need more MH Franks. And most importantly, we need more Nick's Taverns. I'll reiterate, I do agree with the lady who was just up here. They are apartments. They are apartments. They are apartments. We can put townhomes on a piece of paper, but they are apartments. And those apartments will add 44 parking spaces that will be accessed per the plan we saw into the neighborhood. I'm happy to see that the parking garage accesses all through College Avenue, but the spaces will be, the apartments that are called townhomes will be accessed through. You'll drive up through Strode, past Mr. and Mrs. Hodges' house, you'll turn left on the alley, you'll turn back into the one-way access into the apartment complex there. That is bringing people directly into the neighborhood. Two questions that I leave it with here, two questions that I have. I appreciate the idea of ground floor activation. I believe in density. I believe in bringing people to the central node of an urban space, as long as it's sympathetic to the town itself and to the larger urban environment. What I was concerned about is last time someone mentioned what is it called, the commercial tenant, excuse me, there's a bond. I think it hadn't been passed yet, but there's a new ordinance requiring an upfront bond so that we don't have commercial spaces that sit vacant. I believe it was you that mentioned that there was an exemption for PDs for that. I think it'd be useful for everyone to hear a little more about if that would be applicable to this development or not.
Nathan, would you like to clarify that, or would you like for me to clarify that?
Yeah, I can go really quick. There's not an exemption for PDs. They would be held to those same standards.
Oh, they would? Okay, great. I misunderstood last time.
Okay, please sign in.
And I'm Catherine Hodges, a resident of 100 Strode Circle, but we also own the vacant lot 101 Strode that is across on Knox Road. And at the current time, my husband maintains it and grooms it. It's manicured green space. And the whole backyards of all of the lots that go from Knox up to Strode they're long, narrow lots. And they are kind of ripe for your auxiliary dwelling units, or even to be developed as row homes. So we are concerned about what's happening at 400 because it affects what could be done on our 20 lot. I mean, this could be village, you have village walk. We refer to it, Knox Road, as the alley. This could be the alley walk with, significantly upgraded townhomes in the city's core. But it's affected by what's around it, whether anybody would be interested in living in this type of environment. And that's just my added aside. So thank you for all your consideration.
Thank you for your comments.
If you gentlemen see the pictures, just know what you're building on.
My name is Alan Hodges, 100 Strode Circle. We bought our property in 1941 and built the house in 1948. It's been continuously occupied by my family since then. The creek they intend to preserve flows through my yard and occasionally through my garage when the flood waters happen to rise. I'm showing the gentlemen right now the pictures of 102 Riggs and the little bridge over 398 when we had the situation in June 2013. We had 5 days of heavy rain. It flooded Botanical Garden, caused like $250,000 damage out there. But 102 Riggs was totally inundated by the streams. And one of the questions I do have for these gentlemen and ladies is they thoughtfully relocated of 2 water sources. I understand you're going to preserve the stream that flows out of my yard into yours. At times it's dry as a bone, as a desert. At times it's coming out of the banks and flooding your property. The other stream, which we've mentioned, comes out of the retention pond at Douthit Hills Student Apartments, flows through 2 student apartments with a lot of parking lots feeding the stream, flows through some very steep embankments, draining areas, ends up in your property, and you guys are going to thoughtfully relocate it, plus the spring, which is behind the old Carolina Real Estate Office. That may be the Cold Springs our neighborhood is named for, but anyway, how are you going to do that? I'd like to hear a really factual answer to that before we go on and say, gee, you can build a 9-story building on top of all that water. And I just saw your gentleman with his auger was out a couple of weeks ago taking soil samples. What he picked up is red muck, wet muck. So I don't see how you're going to get, I believe can you tell me how tall your building is? I believe it's over 100 feet tall.
It's 85.
Well, you mentioned a deck level, a top deck, but you have a 3,500-foot amenity by the pool. I assume there's a roof on that 3,500 square foot that would probably be 15 to 20 feet tall. Wouldn't that put you over 100 feet tall?
Depending on where you measure from.
Yeah, well, I'm looking from my house. I'm not.
We got about 30 seconds.
Okay. I'd just like to get an answer to the thoughtfully relocated and your actual height. From my side, you're going to be over 100 feet tall.
About 15
College,
seconds.
You're building into it. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, can I ask one last question?
No.
No. But there is no eminent domain for R20 properties, I believe.
Carlos Garcia, 104 Pool Lane. I'm a numbers guy, so I just want to state a couple of things. First of all, I agree with most of the concerns my neighbors have expressed. These are serious and are affecting the way we live in this neighborhood. I want to point out that the architecture company has provided 2 great advantages of this project to our community. One is the number of parking spaces that will be added. This is only 189 short of the number of beds. That does not consider any visitors, so great addition, guys. Second is a Daydreamers Cafe. As one of my neighbors pointed out, this is a chain, it's not local, and it's not great. They close at 2 p.m., and the ones that is closest to Clemson has pretty low ratings. I invite you to go and check them. The third number that I want to bring out is that the smallest place they have built is in Augusta. That has a total number of residents of 130,000. We are not even at 20,000. So, as the other neighbor pointed out, this is not any place like they have been building into. Please consider these facts when considering these projects. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Just right, 103 Riggs Drive. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. On warm weekends, my family and I pile on our golf cart and ride through Clemson, sometimes to catch game, sometimes to explore the botanical gardens, and sometimes to feel the sun on our backs as we drive through the quiet streets near our home on Riggs Drive. My twin daughters, Kelly and Glennie, are 5. My son, Jesse, is 7. They've taken their first steps on Bowman Field. They've learned to swim at the rowing docks. This town is a backdrop to their childhood and our dreams as parents. This is what life in Clemson means to us. Not just a place to live, but a place to belong. A place where community still matters, where neighbors wave, and kids can play safely in their driveway and front yards. That's why we came back. After years of living in Greenville, Virginia Beach, and Atlanta chasing career opportunities, I realized something was missing. My high school sweetheart and I knew that the only place that truly felt like home was Clemson, so we returned to raise our family in the same town that shaped us. I live at 103 Riggs Drive, directly across from the street from the proposed development at 398 College Avenue. My wife and I are both graduates of Daniel High School and Clemson University. I now serve as the Vice President of Brand Marketing here in the Upstate, and my wife is a pharmacist in the community. But tonight, I'm speaking to you not as a professional, I'm speaking to you as a husband, a father, and a neighbor. And I'm here to ask you to reconsider the scale of the proposed 9-story student housing complex planned for the middle of our residential neighborhood. The building may check all the zoning boxes, but it doesn't fit here, not in this community, not on this street, and not among families like mine. Here are my concerns on what I hope you could consider. Safety of my children. Consider dead-ending Riggs Drive at Strode Circle. My kids ride bikes and play in our driveway. They walk our dog down the streets. They play in our front yard. The construction and long-term traffic from this development, heavy machinery, student drivers, delivery, and visitors will directly endanger the safety we moved here to protect. Currently, there are 40-plus parking spaces planned between the townhomes and existing parking. I'm asking the developers and planning commission to reevaluate this plan, remove the 10 spaces on Riggs Drive and dead-end Riggs Drive at Strode Circle to help keep my family and other residents safe from speeding student drivers, saving time by cutting through Riggs. Loss of privacy. Consider scaling down the development. From the proposed development,
20 seconds.
Students will have a clear line of sight into my backyard, where our children swim, where we host birthday parties, where we conduct bug hunts, and where we unwind from the world. That's not just a design flaw, it's an invasion on our home life. I know it often feels like by the time a plan reaches this meeting, the decision's already been made. But I'm asking you to push back on that notion, not just for my family, but for all the families that moved here for the same reason we did: peace, safety, and community.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm Fran Dwyer from 103 Riverview Drive in Clemson. I actually have written notes because I don't want to extend my time beyond what I'm allowed. So I've been a member of the Planning Commission, and you folks are earning your money tonight, I promise you. And I do appreciate it. You did a smart kind of decision, right? So before I came on, I was looking at your website. And right on your website, I guess this is your tagline, it says, "Disruptive minds at work." That's your tagline. You've succeeded. You've been disruptive. Way to go. When I was on the Planning Commission and City Council, I really came to the position that if someone is asking for zoning change, it's not just a matter of clicking the boxes. You have to give something that's going to enhance the city. I think if you want to change the zoning, what you need to do is make sure there's something to that enhancement that we can't get otherwise. As I looked at this plan, I'm not sure if you are doing that or not. I think the quality of life of the residents has to be better because of what you're going to do. And I think you probably agree, some of your work. So I looked at some of your current sites. I think these are all yours. There's the Waterloo, There's the Ruckus, love the name, the Ruckus. There's the Ambler, and in every one of those, the pictures and the text look nothing like the people here. Every one of those had college-age students, and the narrative for every one of those buildings was the pitch to sell and rent to students. That's your business. But what you sell to students, you can't sell to the residents. So here's what I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be quick, so hopefully you can answer this. I ask you to tell me, what are 3 enhancements to the city of Clemson that will occur because of what you're going to do if this is approved? And those enhancements can't be generate more income for the city. We've heard that so many times, I've never seen the evidence of it. Your answer can't be, we need more commercial. You know, I think it's Stephen Covey who said, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. The main thing is student housing, student housing. And the third thing, please don't say, if we don't do it, we'll have to do it somewhere else outside of Clemson. You're doing this because you want to be in Clemson. So I ask you, what are the enhancements of this plan to us if it's approved and built? I'm literally asking that question.
We'll respond at a later date.
They'll respond here in a moment.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
I'm Bill Hoffman. I live at 102 Pool Lane. I'll be very brief. We spoke of having a bakery, and I think that's great. We used to have one. It was locally owned. The Bigby building took care of that. And right next to the bakery, we had another bakery. It was called Mayberry's. The Bigby building took care of that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm Tony Vitanza. I live at 105 Riggs Drive. And first of all, I want to say thank you to all of my neighbors who wrote. I heard their names and addresses. And thank you for voicing my concerns. I want to talk about the retail stuff. My husband and I walked and drove past all of this construction for years, all excited. Oh, there'll be a dry cleaner, there'll be a nail salon, there'll be a whatever. They're empty. They are empty to this day. We were supposed to get all this retail, and because they couldn't find people to rent the space, they just didn't have to do it, I guess. We don't need coffee shops and bakeries and sandwich places and pizza parlors. We don't. We have plenty of them. Lots of choice, okay? A little fewer thanks to the Bixby building, right? Anyway, I have heard promises that I don't see being fulfilled. Those tax dollars, those sales tax dollars are not going to anywhere because those places are empty. And you know, I understand town and gown. My husband taught at Clemson for nearly 30 years. But there's got to be something for the people who actually live here, the people I call the grown-ups, okay? We live here, and we liked living here. And, you know, my neighbor Vince Irwin that wrote you an email had to move his master bedroom in his house because the lights from that parking garage shone in 24/7. You know, he's put up with enough. You have improved your property so much. And now to have people looking over his pool from the one on the roof. I don't know. These are students. These are students. They're not investing in this city. They're getting their education and then going forth. We need to just let them have dorms and let the college worry about that and leave our neighborhood to us. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm Jean Spearman. I live at 232 Riggs Drive. And there's been a lot of talk about making sure that all the traffic goes onto College Avenue. My observation is that already, if you're leaving our neighborhood and turning right onto College Avenue to then turn onto 123. There's a small widening there to turn left, and it's backing up already past the entrance of our neighborhood. I think we've all experienced the Chick-fil-A where the traffic is backed out onto 123 trying to get into the drive-through. So if we're going to put a lot more traffic onto College Avenue, not only from this development, but from the hub and the other ones, what is happening to College Avenue? And that's our only access out of the neighborhood. So if there's an emergency, if an ambulance needs to get there or whatever, I'm just concerned about the College Avenue. And then my second observation, which is maybe not appropriate, I don't know, but if these students are living that close to the campus, they have a swimming pool at Fike.
That's right.
If they want to study, they
Hey,
have a library.
hold on 1 second. You're out of order. One more time, and you will be asked to leave this meeting. I ask for respect for this commission, and respect for anybody in here. There can be differences of opinion. We will not behave like that. Please continue. That does not deduct from your time.
I just feel like we walk downtown every day, and I think living that close to campus, if they need a place to study, that's provided on campus. If they want a place to swim, to work out, to socialize, to do any of those things, all of that is being provided on campus. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Could you turn to the cover page of the presentation? I'm James Sharkey. I'm at 101 Pool Lane.
You wrote us a letter, correct, Mr. Sharkey?
Yes, that was for the prior meeting.
Okay.
So I think that this is kind of ironic that this is the view that they chose to use for their presentation. This is what we're trying to protect and preserve. And if a building like theirs was where those buildings are, unique two-story commercial mixed-use buildings, then we wouldn't have that view right there. My family of four, we walk by these properties every day. We drive by, and what I find, agreeing with a lot of my neighbors, is that there is no reason to change the zoning without a compelling benefit. I jokingly mentioned the pool. My kids walk by all these apartment buildings. They all have pools. They ask, can we go swimming there? No, because the city doesn't have a pool. All of the benefits that are being presented are for the renters of the apartments, not the people that have to drive by there every day. The coffee shop, my office has a coffee cafe. It's an amenity of the office. It's not for the community to come in. The retail space. They put one little retail space in the middle of the building. The property adjacent to it, that's also under the PD, has no retail space, so there's no cohesive shopping experience. It's basically a sprawled type situation. And then even the amenity courtyard is closed off to the public. So I agree with what was presented earlier, and I don't believe there's grounds for a PD to be put forth. Also, the diversity of housing, which has come up, I found it really misleading to label those townhomes, which diversity housing is a requirement for the PD, or one of the considerations for a PD, I believe. And so they label those as townhomes, which are different than the apartments, but they're actually not. They're actually just apartments. So I find that very disingenuous. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your additional comments.
I'm Alan Grubb. I live at 116 Riggs. right up the
Before you
street.
start, Mr. Grubb, I want to apologize to you for not having the assisted I want to apologize to you for not having the assisted listening devices last time. That was on me. I apologize for not mentioning that.
Oh, that's fine, huh?
Yes, sir.
I'll find this in a minute. I live up the street from this project, if it's actually approved. Less up the street, I guess, if it is approved. I was a little surprised when I first heard of the project that it included two houses at the bottom of the road. One was built in 1951 and actually still was standing a few years ago till it was struck by a tree and then removed. That one I learned, and it's my bad, that actually it had been rezoned as commercial residential. I don't understand that, but anyway. But the one beside it, 104, is definitely residential. So my problem here is, to some extent, the intrusion into the community, which is one of the oldest established neighborhoods in Clemson. I mean, it was carved out of the Cold Spring plantation in the 1920s, and it's hardly a derelict area. I mean, it's been considered a kind of prime real estate area for a long time. So when I was at the university, I was on a lot of committees, and architects always talked about the importance of gateways. For a long time, I thought that was just architect speak, but I came to see the importance of that. And this augurs badly, I think, for the neighborhood, this towering structure. My second problem is I am concerned about the traffic, about the cars, especially the fact that students do have cars. There's not enough space in the parking garage. They'll have to put their cars somewhere. They'll have to drive them somewhere. Now, right now, there's not much traffic on Ridge Drive because the university is not really in session. But when all of these high rises come back, the traffic will increase. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead. You have 1 minute.
My third problem is with the creeks. And how the creeks are handled. There are 2 or 3 creeks that converge there. I've always thought it's kind of charming to have that office house on a kind of moat. To get into it, you had to go across a little bridge. And my concern is not just the flow of the water down the creeks. At 99 Wyatt, there have been several collapses of the parking lot, for example. So obviously that's a problem, but I guess it's aesthetically. I mean, this is an area that has trees. I mean, covering it over is just not the way to handle the creeks.
Thank you, Tom.
So that's my...
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And we do have your letter that will be provided as well to them as they requested. Is there anyone else before we get responses to the questions that were asked?
One last question, if I could.
So it puts me in a difficult, okay.
My name is Peppy Dutart, and I live at 232 Riggs. And Clemson is a charming town. I'm probably one of the newest to live here. And I love walking to the campus. I think in this this season of life, it's been enriching, even though I think that most of the students can't see me because they've got their things in their ears. Anyway, I think that with all the stuff that's been happening with the buildings that are going up right now, that we haven't had a chance to swallow that and now you're talking about a 9-story building. I just agree with a lot of the folks that have spoken, and just once again, look at that picture.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody who has not spoken that would like to speak?
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Platt. I live at 103 Mountain View Lane, so I'm here to support my fellow residents.
You wrote us a letter, correct?
Yeah, I did,
Okay.
yes. And I was wondering if I could possibly get an answer to my questions that I sent in. Concerning because I know the city is planning on turning College Avenue into a 2-lane road, is that correct?
Yes. We have a long-term plan to fully streetscape College Avenue. That I can show you off the top of my head. I'm not certain that it goes to right there, but I'm happy to share that with you.
Okay, but even, if it turns into 2 lanes, traffic's gonna be chaos.
Certainly.
Through
Yep.
there. Because,
But-
with this development coming out on College Avenue, you're gonna have cars trying to turn right, left, if there's only 2 lanes right there. So how is the city gonna deal with that?
Like I said, I'd be happy to show you that plan. We have a long-term plan to mitigate any issues along College Avenue. The first phase of which is happening this summer with the extensions of the sidewalk from Keith to 93. And as far as the rest of that, if I had it in front of me, I'd be able to give you answers for all of this, but I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else who has not spoken?
I'm Jody Hunter, and I live at 268 Riggs Drive. When I look behind this commission, I see the sign, City of Clemson. When I look behind me, I see the City of Clemson. When I look at the developers, I do not see the City of Clemson. What we are asking this commission and our council to do is do what's best for the citizens of Clemson. It's not the people that are going to use this building. It's not a benefit to the citizens of this city. Stand up for the citizens of Clemson and the city of Clemson is what I'm asking you, the council, and all of us to do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else who has not spoken? Okay, I'm going to make one exception, and then we're going to get into the answer to the questions that were asked. I'm going to make one exception. Everybody got me? Mr. Hodges, you will be able to make your point.
Thank you.
I just need to give everybody else.
I've signed in, so
Yeah.
I can do that.
And so can we do this in 1 minute?
So this is not a flat piece of ground like you'd find maybe in an urban area. This is a very difficult piece of ground with three water sources, a gully, and streets on 3 sides of it. What I'd like to know is, if y'all have been down Kiwi Trail, you see that god-awful mess of red dirt, towering cranes, bulldozers, dump trucks, concrete things forming. And right now, if you look out my yard, I see old buildings that have been dilapidated. The developer, the property owner hasn't maintained them. They're all going to be torn down. Trees are going to be clear cut out of there. There's going to be one heck of a lot of dirt shoveled hither and yon through there. I don't know how they're going to do a proper laydown of all the equipment. How are you going to get into your property? I do not want to see a dump truck, a bulldozer, any of that stuff on Riggs Drive or Strode Circle. They can maybe get in through the Carolina real estate property, but yeah, that's the only access they have to get in this property that does not offend the neighborhood of Riggs Drive and Strode Circle.
Okay.
That's
Thank you. So, thank everybody for your comments. Now it's time, I believe you mentioned that there were a couple of these questions you could answer. Or Dr. McGuire asked the benefits to the city. Are we prepared to do that now?
I'll address this side first. So you asked us here to come listen. We've listened, we've taken copious notes. We intend to go back, address as much as we can, and come back and address it to the neighborhood and to the planning commission.
Okay. So Dr. McGuire, what he's saying is, will that work for you? He will include those.
Just what I expected, thank you.
Okay. And you will work on being able to get the answers about the construction entrances and things of that nature?
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening. We do want you to hear the summary. We will give this to you through Nathan and Art. Can we make sure that, Art, will you make sure that each of those is given to them and they get those? I appreciate everybody coming to the Planning Commission. I appreciate everybody getting involved and seeking to understand. Most of all, I appreciate your decorum tonight. You have been kind. You have been respectful for the most part. Everyone has. I understand. Please know that you have been heard. That's important. Everybody deserves to be heard. And I want to thank you so much for that. At this point, since there's no action item this tonight, this is a public session. There are notes. They will come back and see what is presented. And thank you for that. We will go to the next thing. Are there any advisory items? Okay. Are there any discussion items?
No discussion.
Okay. Any staff reports we need to be aware of at this point?
I would just like to let the commission know that the bonding passed.
Pause 1 second so we can all hear while they give them a minute or so to clear out.
Everybody's welcome to stay.
Won't take long.
Not much longer. Yeah, 5 minutes.
Let me go to the podium. How about that?
Yeah.
I'd just like to let the commission know that this passed last night. I guess the commercial bonding aspect that this planning commission worked on passed the second reading in front of the council. So any retail space that's built will be required to post a bond of 150% of the build-out cost determined between staff and the developer, so that in the event that in 2 years that's not filled, we'll take that money and help someone get in that space to make sure that the vacancy rate remains low in Clemson. And that's all I have.
Okay. Anything on council or future workshops?
Yeah, we will be taking the fence item that council, or that planning commission passed to council at the next meeting.
And the buffers.
And the buffers at the next meeting as well, yes.
Thank you so much. Is there any motion at this point?
So moved.
So moved.
I make a motion to end the planning commission meeting
Okay.
during the meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?